So, how was your experience the other night, Ted, when you were talking about um remember you put your cat outside the door and she peed everywhere?
Oh, that experience. Uh,
What do you think happened there?
well, obviously something was being done to me because I mentioned that uh, I was sort of like paralyzed. I was in that state, but mentally I was aware of what was going on, and I knew that there were grays uh, standing there, two of them at the foot of my bed that I could see, and I could hear Loca. Uh,
And Loca's
that's
your cat.
that, yeah, that's Spanish for crazy. And if you knew my cat, you'd know why I call her crazy. So, but at any rate, she's outside the door, and I could hear her screaming, and I mean, just really loud cat yells. And she would hit the door occasionally, bump it, that I could hear it. So I could tell she really was wanting to get into where I was, but I couldn't get up to do anything. And then the next morning, when I get up, I find that when I open the door immediately, there's a puddle of cat urine there where she was.
Yeah.
And so to me, I would say that she urinated to marking the territory because there was something going on the inside there where I was that she knew should not be there.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, Now she was a feral uh, kitten when I got her, and she's always been a little crazy. That's why we call her that. But she is very protective of me in her way.
Yeah.
I think she was trying to get into me to to help protect me. That's just my feeling.
And how many nights ago was this?
Oh,
Last week or something, wasn't it?
yeah, it's been a week to 10 days ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're going to be talking about the mantis beings again. There's a couple of things Ted wants to tie up, and I also got a couple of comments. Um, First off, I want to start with a comment from someone who listens to the podcast. His name is Nico, and he says, on the topic of Ted feeling horrible prior to speaking on an important alien topic, Ted, do you remember in the last stream you said you felt like you were under attack?
Yes.
Oh, there's Loka.
She's talking to us. Yeah. I may
um,
have to see if I can put her out. Come on. Oh, yeah, she's ready to go out. Excuse the interruption, folks. Yeah, go. Yeah.
There we go. She wouldn't go out earlier, and now as soon as we start, she wants to leave.
Absolutely. Right.
So he says, Nico, on the topic of Ted feeling horrible prior to speaking on an important alien topic, he says, I've heard this many times from various UFO abductees. How do they do this? And how are they monitoring you? How do they know you're about to do a stream?
Oh, that can really that can really go into a lot of depth in other directions. I'll just briefly say, and maybe we can talk about this on another podcast.
All right.
Certain members of the human race, maybe all of us, 100%, is for all I know, are monitored since birth.
Okay.
They watch us, they manipulate us to make sure that we are producing what they want as the plot for our lives was written out. There are what metaphysical people say are spiritual guides. In other words, they're the overseers that see that we follow the path they want us to go, and if we stray out of that too far, a lot of bad things can happen to us to get us back on the path they're wanting us to go. But they will let us stray off at times because those are learning lessons. So it's very complicated how all this works. And I don't know that I can really go into depth on it at this time. All I can say is that we're monitored throughout our lives.
Right. Uh, okay. So I have another comment here. Hopefully, Nico, hopefully we'll come back to this, all right? We might do another episode on it because it sounds like Ted has a lot there. This one is from Great Ghastly, okay? So when you brought up a former Reddit comment about some girls encountering a feminine entity that had maternal demeanor that resembled a kindergarten teacher wearing a face cover, it really struck a chord. I'm a frequent and relatively long-term poster in the Experiencer subreddit and had never seen that reported. The mentioned Redditor described it as having this blue and black fuzzy hologram over her face before asking her if she's an ant queen. This sounds so incredibly familiar. Okay. My special other, who is a lifetime experiencer and has gotten me caught up in the whole thing, had a unique experience. At the time, it was unique. Shortly subsequently, my mantid operating room experience. She told me about this tall, motherly feeling figure she encountered while in a ship or had something overlooking Earth beyond a clear glass pane, sorry. And she had described her face as a fuzzy veil that resembles stars being blue and black with little white dots. Fuzzy blue and black hologram over her face. Ant queen / kindergarten teacher. That's how the Redditor described her in the comment. Anyway, hope one of you guys winds up reading this to reinforce the legitimacy of that one case. Had to reach out somehow since it stopped me in my tracks. Okay, so in the previous one, we read out a comment from Reddit user who was talking about the mantids. Now, she's obviously had a similar experience, but it's only really struck a chord because she didn't realize other people have had something similar. I remember Carla Turner was saying that when she was 4 years old, she was out in her back garden with one of these mantid beings, and the being was telling her that it was her mother. And Carla would scream back, you're not my mother, I have an earth mother. So it's good to read these comments out because when people hear them, they have a reaction to it. Like it's kind of like when Whitley Strieber brought out Communion, and the cover of Communion was the gray face. Do you remember that? Do you know the book Communion, Ted?
Yes, I read that.
And a lot of people had a reaction to that. So this Reddit user is basically saying the same thing. So it really struck a chord. Ted, do you think this is kind of like a how would you say it? It's the part of the programming is that they're telling these people that they're a maternal figure or they're a figure of authority to them.
I would say absolutely yes. In the case of Carla Turner, when she was 4 years old, my opinion on that is this mantis, which they're known as the caretakers of children. They're associated with children. Well, I've talked about why I think that's possible because of their true role and what they're doing with children. So, children are their crop in the garden. But with Carla Turner there, I think this mantis was trying to win her over so she wouldn't be resistant. Telling her, "Oh, I'm your mother, I'm your alien mother," or whatever, was just an attempt to, like a kidnapper, telling a little child they have just abducted, "It's okay, darling, I'm your real mother."
Yeah, okay.
It's an attempt to try to win them over psychologically, and then that's my opinion. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, well, it would make sense. I know there's like a British politician as well. I don't know, actually, maybe he's like a council leader over there. It was on some documentary I watched, but he's completely convinced that these beings are his real parents. That he has these good experiences with them. Is that possible? Like, is it possible that there is a good side to these mantids, or are we just talking about pure demonic evil here?
I think it's pure demonic evil.
Yeah,
I
sure.
truly do. Uh, Show me all the good things they've done for these children or whatever. Show me, tell me all the great things they've done besides terrorizing people. I'm not the only one that has seen them feeding on the carcasses of these babies, these children. Uh, Barbara Barkley had several cases, not only me. Uh, Carla Turner had a negative feeling about them. She shared that with me and Barbara. She didn't have the details. She didn't recall what I had seen, but she had a very negative feeling about their presence.
Yeah,
Uh, so tell me what positive thing they're doing in our lives, and maybe I'll listen. But as it is of right now, nobody has shared anything really positive that I would want to be a part of my life.
right. Now you said that someone had reached out to you after hearing the last episode we did and had a couple of questions.
Oh, yeah. He doesn't want to be identified, and that's okay. But he was asking. He asked me on the episode "The Uglies" that we did. This little girl and I, and I pulled her and rescued her off of a conveyor belt. And his question to me was, well, if she was riding on a conveyor belt like you've seen in these episodes of the Mantis, was she being taken into an area where the Mantis were and about to feed on her, and you saved her from that? And well, I didn't have enough recall. Barbara and I were not able to go deep enough and long enough into the hypnotic regression on that in order for me to know for certain uh, what was on, where the end of the conveyor belt led to. So I don't recall any mantis right there, but the behavior of the situation indicates things that I have seen before. Uh, and
Oh, there's our mystery noise.
no, it's not mystery. That was my phone. I'm gonna cut it off. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was on.
Are you sure it was your phone?
Well, I think it was.
Did you get any message or notification of it?
Well, let's see.
Because you did this the last time.
Well, I don't see a message. Wait a minute. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it was the phone. Yeah. No, I'm not gonna claim to some mystery that's not really there. I think it was my phone. But if it wasn't, I've turned it off. Now we'll see if it does it again.
Right.
So we'll see there. But at any rate, if you understand his message and where we're going with this, uh, I can't positively tell you that there were mantis waiting at the end of this conveyor belt where I rescued the little girl uh, in the uglies. But my feeling on the behavior of the mantis, as my experience with them has taught me, that probably there were. So that's the only way I can answer his question there. No, there was no positive identification. The little girl and I in the uglies, both we do recall that on the crafts that took us, and they took us to a mountain range in South America. And I had said before working with her that I was taken to a mountain range in South America. I didn't know really for sure exactly where, but I knew that's where we'd taken. But she identified the mountains as the Andes. The little girl did. And so here we are, we're in this, and it brings it forward now to another situation that I wanted to point out, whether it be coincidental or not. And that is when Dr. Bruce Cornett did his episode with us, and he talked in detail about the female ET that he met named Maya.
Yeah.
And she had told him that she was her home, she lived and was from the Andes Mountains. Now,
Yeah.
is it coincidental? Maybe it is, that here is this ET that Bruce thinks is very benevolent, kind, and sweet. I had an experience at Sun Valley, Idaho with Maya near the same time Bruce did, and only his was in Europe. But I didn't have a bad experience with this Maya, but at the same time, I didn't have a complete trust in her because I felt she was holding back and not being 100% truthful with me. So I
Yeah.
never surrendered my total trust in her, but I was amazed with her. Glad that I met her. I did learn things from her. So that's true. But is it coincidental that the little girl and I were taken to the Andes Mountains in South America, and these children were being carried into on this conveyor belt into an area there in the mountains, probably, not for sure, probably controlled by mantis that were preying on these children for nourishment. And Maya lives in the same mountain range.
Yeah.
Now, do they know each other? Is that just a coincidence? I think that's questionable. And this is another reason I encourage the listeners, don't buy into all of this behavior from these aliens, that they're wonderful and great and are our best friends. If they are demons, as I feel that we're going to find most of them are, they are masters of deception.
Right.
I
Does
mean, so I encourage everyone, just because Dr. Stephen Greer is so positive about them doesn't really mean that he's been able to get beyond the grand deception.
yeah.
And I mean, well, he is a great person. I admire him, and I'm not trying to be negative about him, but I just think that he hasn't fully opened his eyes. And I pray that he does soon.
Just since we're on the topic of the grand deception, you don't think there is really a hybrid program, do you?
No,
You think that's just all cover for
it
them
is.
slaughtering and eating
It
us?
is.
That's what
It
you
is.
think? How come
Yes.
so many people are coming back reporting the same thing that, people find under hypnosis? Does that mean that hypnosis really is no good? Like they never were able to really break through the screen memories?
Uh, that's hard for me to answer at this second. I I think screen memories are, I think that they have extreme mind control over us, and that they are able to implant these screen memories in there, trying to encourage us, as we know what they are, they're encouraging us from actually seeing what's really going on. And I think screen memories are real. And and I think it's a psychological uh, tool they use to help themselves stay hidden. And
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about it, you know?
Well, it really is just like the ultimate planning. They're kind of thinking, right, we're going to get screen memories. But then if they use hypnosis, we've got this second screen memory that's going to completely throw them off the track.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't put it past
I
them.
mean, anything's possible, you know, I don't rule that out, but
Yeah,
dealing with what I've experienced and what I think it means and what Barbara and Carla experienced, and we all shared together as a team.
yeah. I think we'll have to do an episode on hypnosis as well at some point. Um, Rice, you were watching Skinwalker Ranch, okay? I haven't watched it yet. I think I watched like first 10 minutes of one episode. Um, and I like it because people who aren't into UFOs are telling me to watch it. They say it's good. So there's
Very
a
good.
number of people,
It's
yeah.
an excellent program. I mean, they're just blindly walking right into the hands of the devil, and they don't know it, you know. So, if you want me to comment,
Yeah, please
I
do.
would do that. Now, I'm not going back to a lot of previous episodes. I'm going to talk about, for lack of time here, I'm going to talk about the latest episode I saw just a few days ago, and I'm not, it was on the History Channel here from the United States. And it was the latest episode. For those of you that watch that, you may be able to get it. Uh, but Travis Scott, who is the scientist basically in charge, I like him because he's from Alabama, where I'm
Yeah.
from. We talk a lot. We sound alike when we talk. Only he sounds smarter than I am. But but at any rate, uh, here they are. They have determined there is a small area there on the ranch that it forms geographically. It forms like a triangle shape, and they call it the triangle. And right above this area, there is something that interferes. They can't see it looking up, they just see the regular sky, but it interferes with their cell phones and their equipment. When they've sent up weather balloons and different things, it tends to cause it to veer off in another direction slightly, whatever. So, what interested me on this particular episode was they're trying to determine what's there. And is there really anything there? And so they use these, and I can't recall right now. I'm old, forgive me, but I don't know if they used flamethrowers or if it was electrical impulses they were sending. But they went up on big forklifts because this area starts only about 39, 40 feet above the ground. And so they went up on forklifts way up there, closer to this, and then there was two of them, and one guy on each one, and they used these flamethrowers uh, to charge that from both directions at this area. And when they did, it showed on the radar where these charges were going like around a little bit curved, like on like a round mound there in that area. It didn't go inside that; it just like went around it, and which indicated there's obviously something there. They didn't come out and acknowledge, okay, we know now there's a UFO there. We can't see it, but it's sitting there. They didn't say that, but they did say we know now that there's obviously something there that we can't see with the naked eye. Uh, to me, that's pretty positive evidence that there's something there they can't see. Yeah, they didn't name it, but at least they know that they're not crazy.
Yeah.
That something is there. Now, my opinion of what this means. Oh, and by the way, interestingly, right after, and they showed this on the film, right after that, a group of black op helicopters suddenly appeared out of nowhere and flew right over the property. There were several of them. It showed it. I was seeing them. They were unmarked, dark windows. but you couldn't tell if it said United States military of any branch or anything. There's no markings whatsoever on them. They checked with the government. There was no flight plan issued for that. There should not have been there, but yet they appeared. I found that very interesting.
So what, like, is it alien or government?
That's another episode. Okay, briefly, I will say this. I believe that the aliens have infiltrated our government on certain levels. And these are levels that are not known actually even to Congress. Very few in the Pentagon are aware of this. But yet, you can talk to witnesses throughout our country that have witnessed and seen UFO crafts hovering in and around military bases. I am a witness. I have seen it firsthand, live, with other people. When I lived in Shreveport, Louisiana, I witnessed it. I saw it at Barksdale Air Force Base. And I had a number of people as witnesses for this. But yet, when we called Barksdale Air Force Base and inquired about what we were seeing over the base, they said, well, nothing's showing on our radar. What are you talking about? What's your phone number and your address, please? Hey, I didn't give it to them. I didn't want to become lunch meat. So, so I didn't do that. But yes, there are certain levels of infiltration. And I do believe that the men in black, these black ops, these helicopters that I have experienced in some of my own abductions, one being at Carla Turner's house there in Arkansas, in which the roof opened up and the helicopter was above me, and a military human guy beamed down holding a little boy and told me they were returning to me what had been taken from me years before. This was the helicopter. So yes, there are phases of some form of our government that is aware of this. They're in operation with these aliens, just like I think that's what's going on at Dulce. Supposedly, from what witnesses said, there was actually a battle that took place.
Bill Schneider.
Right. Okay. So does that answer your question? Yes, on some level, it's real.
Yeah. But then these black helicopters aren't really helicopters. They're UFOs. They're just in disguise.
Well, they look like helicopters. They don't make any. Now, the ones here that flew over Travis and the group that I was just talking about, they didn't make any loud noise. You could feel the chopping of the wind from the blades. And I think a UFO craft, normal one, would not have done that.
Yeah, okay.
So I think they are real helicopters, but they're advanced to the point that they're soundless. And for those of you who've heard me talk about my experience when my son and I went out in the middle of Hurricane Katrina to secure the door on my shed that was being ripped off by this hurricane, and it was in the middle of the night, and we got out there, and this helicopter making no sound of motors. It was quiet, but we could hear the chopping of the wind and the blades right above us that shined a spotlight on us so that we could see what we were doing. So I've had personal experiences with these.
Yeah. Just getting back to Travis now, you were saying that you felt that there might be some danger there.
Well, okay, let's look at it like this. I can't say definitely there's danger, but I feel like there may be. Now, the reason being, okay, I don't think these aliens would give up Dulce, New Mexico without another battle.
Okay.
I don't think Skinwalker, which in my opinion is the same type of base as Dulce.
Another meat
I don't
processing
think
plant.
I do, and I think it was built several hundred years ago by the aliens, and they were feeding off. There was a large population of Native Americans living in that area. There was the I can't pronounce those Indian names, uh, but there was a large population of scattered around that area, and I think they were feeding on them. And that's when this base was set up. That's just my gut feeling. It's been there all these years. Well, now they feed off of the general population as a whole in the Great Basin area there of Utah and all in that area. Now that's my feeling of what's going on. I don't think for a minute they're going to give up their base without a fight of some kind. So Travis and company, they don't know what all I know. They don't know what all I'm sharing with you, or I think if they did, they wouldn't be doing the show.
Right.
All right. So what's going to happen to them when they keep doing this and revealing information that's going to expose what this base really is? All right. Now, a couple of things can happen. The aliens can force our government people to come and shut it down by working underneath up so that no explanation is given other than the government has shut them down. And you know, Travis, that they have said on this program, I've seen it recently on some previous issues where they said, well, we're going to keep going, but don't be surprised one day if black SUVs don't pull up telling us we have to shut it down. They've admitted that. They're
Right.
expecting that. Okay. So, but if they don't, what's going to happen? Okay. An accident of some kind, a large explosion, a sickness, that Travis and all the crew die and the program ends.
Is that like your gut feeling on it?
No, I'm just saying these are possibilities. But if I were Travis and company, you know, and then there are other things too. You know, the aliens back before Carla died, and Barbara and Carla and I were all threatened. One of the tools they used to silence me all these years was I had grandbabies living with me that I had custody of at the time that I was raising, and they were little babies. And they threatened to do something horrible to my grandchildren if I didn't shut up.
Yeah.
So there are all kind of things that can happen here. And I hope if Travis listens to this program, I wish he would contact me because I would like to really give him some details of what I suspect they may run into.
Interesting. Can you say any of them now?
No,
Okay.
no, sorry, but it would be for his ears only. I apologize.
Interesting. Cryptic. Um, just since we're on the topic of bases, do you remember you had an experience you were taken somewhere, it could have been Dulce, where you saw Barney and the children?
Okay, the story behind that happened, and this is the story that allowed me to meet Barbara Barthlick and Carla Turner. I was living in Shreveport, Louisiana. I had not been there very long. I had been moved down there from Amarillo, Texas, and I started on a new job. And I had only been at this address, and I was living in a mobile home. And I had only been on this spot in this mobile home for about 4 days when we had a horrible bad weather night with it was in April. We had tornadoes and lightning and wind, hail, all that stuff going on for the night. And it was that night that I was abducted and I was taken across the driving area between two other mobile homes and through a hedgerow of trees. And there was a meadow behind it. It was open. And I was taken through the walls of my mobile home on a sled. I had two grays, small grays, operating the system. Another one who was there, I forget what position he was. But anyway, it was taken out, and as we got to this field out there where the UFO was sitting, I saw that there were other people being brought from other mobile homes, and we were all taken and put into this mobile home. Excuse me, not mobile home. We were all put into this UFO, and then we were taken. Okay, now I remembered that consciously. I didn't need hypnosis for that. Now, across the drive, a couple of trailers across from me with a young family, and they had a little girl who was, I think, between 4 and 5 years old. And like a year went by, and I finally started getting acquainted with these people, and they would come over and sit on my patio with me, and we would talk. And my son happened to be visiting at the time. He also happened to be in the mobile home the night that this abduction took place in that bad weather. So we're sitting there, and my son opens the door to the trailer. We're all sitting out on the patio with the neighbor and the little girl. And he says, "Dad, Unsolved Mysteries is coming on. They've got an episode about UFOs." And I jumped up and I said, "Excuse me, please." But I said, I'm watching everything. I said, I'm very interested in this. Well, they jumped up also, the mother and daddy, and said, "Well, can we watch it with you? We're interested also." So we all go in and we watch this episode. And afterward, the mother turns to me and she says, "You're not going to believe this, Ted, but our little girl says one night, blah, 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 that we were all taken on these little sleds out to this meadow behind out here." And she described it completely. And she had the little girl start telling me about it. And the little girl said, he looked at me and she said, "Yeah, and you were there too, Mr. Rice. I remember you." Wow, talk about shock. I had validation.
Yeah.
A year went by and I had validation that this really took place from these neighbors. So then we started talking to other neighbors. There were 3 other mobile homes right by me there. All of them remembered experiences that night. So I didn't know what to do about it. Now, mysteriously, Carla Turner gets a little memo in the mail without an address. Wasn't from me, because she was a UFO researcher that told her that she needed to contact me. And she contacted me, and that's how I became acquainted with Carla Turner.
Yeah.
Mysteriously brought together. All right, Barbara Barthlick, the hypnotic regressionist, she gets involved in the case. Carla's involved in the case. My neighbors are involved in the case. And so Barbara works with the little girl, and the little girl tells her, about the dinosaurs, and that all the kids were put into this little room, all the kids that were abducted that night, and there were several, and they were told they were going to meet Barney. And she liked Barney. She saw Barney on TV, And Barney was a friend to her. She really loved Barney. She had a stuffed animal that looked like him, and she liked the colors, the purple and the gold, not gold, the purple and the emerald green. And so I won't go into detail what happened to the children and Barney, but it is on a previous episode if any of you want to go back to the beginning and listen. But
I
that's
put
how
it up on
Barney
YouTube as
came
well.
about. That's how it all came about, everybody.
I put that episode up on YouTube as well. It's like a 10-minute clip thing.
Uh,
Somebody was asking, right, if the dinosaur ate the children, were the children cloned?
everybody, these missions by the aliens are pre-planned. They have the clone bodies ready. All they have to do is activate them and replace them. I've seen them do it. I've watched them do it.
In your opinion, what's more likely, that this is just an illusion that they were using to try and get the fear out of people, or
Well, if it is, it worked.
yeah,
It worked.
but I suppose, like, why would you have an illusion when you've got clone bodies all ready to go?
Right.
You might as well just have the real thing.
Well, are you talking about why they don't feed on the clones?
No, I'm just saying that what's the point of doing an illusion, okay? If you're trying to extract fear, but if you can reclone the bodies anyway, why not just have the real event that these children really were actually eaten?
Well, some people want to argue that issue and they say it's illusion. Uh, but no, these people that do all that never come back with an answer. Okay, these creatures are real. They're physical. They can become shadowy, and shadowy people, they have technology they hide behind, but they're real. All right, if they're real and they're solid, they have to have some type of nourishment. So nobody is ever come back with, okay, you're wrong, Ted. They're not feeding on humans. They're eating blah blah blah. So somebody needs to come up with the real truth. What is their nourishment?
Mm,
And what do creatures eat? Let's look at what creatures are. What do reptiles eat? Look at alligators. Watch those video clips from zoos and what have you. What they're feeding raw chickens. Look at the African safaris where these alligators attack and eat the zebras trying to get water or whatever. Yeah, look at the nature of these creatures. What do Prentice eat? Why
mm,
do we think because they're intelligent that their feeding habits have changed?
right.
Now that I'm open to learn new things here, people, but so far I only have what I've witnessed to share with you.
I have a question for someone in the chat. As Infinity is wondering, are your shoe size still different?
My shoe size, 1 foot is one shoe size larger than the other one. It has been for a number of years.
So that's still the case.
It's still the
So
case.
when you're buying shoes, you have to like buy one shoe that's, say, like a size 10, and then another one that's
I
a
have
size 11.
special made shoes.
Right.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Now, we were talking about unsolved mysteries back there, okay? And you wanted to mention something else about an episode you saw of unsolved mysteries.
Yeah, I saw this just a few days ago on Netflix. Unsolved Mysteries, Volume 1, Episode 5. The title was Berkshire's UFO. This took place September the 1st, 1969, uh, in a community probably of a radius of about 10 miles, where there were several little towns, maybe 4 and 5 miles apart around the area. And it all happened this one night. Now they're interviewing these people. They were children. These were children that were taken that night. They didn't know each other. Well, I think a couple of them did know each other, but most of them didn't know each other. But it all happened the same night for them. And they're now adults, they're grown, older people, and they're talking about that night. And it's an interesting video clip to watch. Uh, what I wanted to point out was there were adults that were taken, like there was one family or a couple of families that were in the automobiles driving somewhere, and they just came up on this bright light there in the middle of the road, and then the next thing they know, uh, they're waking up from like a sleep, and it's 3 hours later, and they're 8 miles from that point. Uh, and in one case, one woman, an older grandmother, was sitting when they woke up from their nap, so to speak. She was behind the steering wheel as she had been driving, but yet she didn't drive. She didn't know how to drive. And and her daughter, who was adult and the mother of the children there in the car with them, uh, she was sitting in the passenger seat. So somebody goofed up.
Yeah.
Either it was done intentionally as a joke. Maybe one of the aliens had a sense of humor that night. I don't know, but that was totally out of character for them since their grandmother didn't drive at all. But uh, the adults were not affected. They were probably either left in the automobile, or either they were left standing on the side of the road by the automobile, or if they were taken inside the craft, they were just left sitting somewhere while the work was done with the children. Uh, but all these children were taken, and this one woman who's an adult, she was probably in her 70s. I'm not sure. I don't think she said exactly how old she was, but she remembered, and none of them had been under hypnosis, but she consciously remembered that she and all these children were there in this one UFO, one big one. She said it was a big craft. And they were all sitting there in this one area. And she said what bothered her all these years was that one by one, each child disappeared. And when it came time for her, she doesn't know what happened.
Right.
She woke up back in on the side of the road, or either maybe it was in this automobile. I'm not sure, but she woke up. So I would say the mantis were hungry that night and they were feeding.
Right. And is this obviously they have got these bases all over the world, but is there like particular hotspots where this happens? Like where this Skinwalker Ranch, the Hopi Indians and the tribes that they were feeding off around that area would obviously be a hotspot. But like I live in Ireland, and stories like this, you don't really hear them.
True. I don't know why Barney and Betty Hill, and they were in Massachusetts, which is where this happened. Uh, why that particular area, other than there are mountain ranges in Massachusetts as you approach near the Canadian side. There are mountain ranges, and so there could be a base that they had set up, because remembering back in history, before all the Europeans settled and the Caucasian race started taking over, there was masses of Native Americans living all in that area.
Yeah.
So we don't know when their base was created. I have no idea to comment on that.
Yeah. Okay.
And if the base is even there, maybe it's somewhere else.
Yeah. 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 Is this something as simple as just digging this, digging below the surface and you'll come across it?
Well, you're talking about on Skinwalker?
Yeah.
Well,
Or even Dulcie.
or even, well, Travis and company have tried drilling into the mesa, there, and they hit something that stopped the drilling completely, but yet it didn't damage the drill. It didn't scar it up, break it, or anything. It's like it went into some type of a void that had a power that shut it down. So they had to stop the drilling because of that, because something was not allowing it to continue drilling.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if you had a lot of money and you were convinced about this and you just went out there and you just started digging, would you actually come across some sort of structure under there? Is this base physical or is this sort of ethereal?
Well, I think a certain part of it has to be physical because, like at Dulce, we know from witnesses that had worked there that there were underground floors that went down very far.
That's true. When
So,
people describe like, a gray in my room, but it left as an orb of light, it kind of suggests that, all right, we're talking about something physical, but then at the same time, ethereal.
well, I back up here and I say, was their conscious recall complete? Maybe they saw two different things and they were trying to make it one.
Okay.
If you follow what I'm saying here,
Yeah, I do. Um,
because I've seen both, but I've never witnessed. Now that doesn't mean it can't happen, but I've never witnessed a gray turning into a ball. But I have seen the balls come floating into my house at night during the night, and then not long after that, I have a gray.
yeah, yeah. But even like some of the comments I was reading about the mantis the last time, um, people described them as, appearing half there, half not really, half not there. So it would kind of suggest that we're talking about something that is ethereal, but not physical, but then physical in the same way.
They have technology. Now, I've seen this work, and I can't explain it, and I'm no scientist, but I will try to describe it to you. Like, for example, a miner's hat that has a little light on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. They have something like on top that that they can control that throws a force field around them, and they're suddenly inside a bubble that belongs to another dimension. And when they're encased in that bubble from that other dimension, they're not subject to the rules of our reality. They can
Okay.
pass right through solid matter. They do it. They walk through walls. A spacecraft can travel thousands of miles in a second and not touched by our dimension because it's another dimension, but we're able to to view it somewhat, although it's limited to what we can see, but still it's there. And I've seen them turn those bubbles on and encase them in that and just disappear right before my eyes. And they look ethereal,
Yeah.
but they're solid inside that bubble.
Okay. So we are dealing with physical beings, but it's just their technology.
And
That,
that's my conception of it from what I've witnessed.
okay.
It's all technology.
Is there anything else you want to say before we go? Is there anything else you want to bring up? Did we cover everything?
No, I think that pretty much covered it today. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. All right.
I'm hoping we've given food for thought. I would like to say this as we sign off. I have read comments from people they make on Reddit that disturbs me because there it seems like there's absolutely nothing that can be said to these people to make them to realize when they're playing with the Ouija board or they're playing with open invitations to aliens to come take them because they're so positive their experience is going to be something wonderful They have no idea the harm they're setting up for themselves.
Okay.
People, start thinking more wisely. This is advice from Ted. Maybe it'll turn out one day that I'm 100% wrong, and they're here, they're God's angels, and they're here to help us all. But right now, I don't think so. They're the devil's advocates, and you're playing with fire, and I am concerned for your safety. Please stop opening the door to something you don't know what's waiting on the other side, outside of your hope that it is good. Thank you.
Okay. I just got a comment there from Narissa, who says, I've just started reading the book and would like to thank Ted for his account of the red orb that visited him. It was so much like my own experience and was so validating. Um, what was this red orb, Ted? Just very quickly, can you remember?
Well, I think it was a orangish reddish color. We talked about uh the photo that we put up of the orb that I got a picture of at the beach. Okay. It just look at that and see it as glowing orange red instead of that blue.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what it looked like. And this is what she's talking about. And I've had more than one of this orange color uh appear. And I had witnesses who came when I lived in Shreveport, Louisiana, and I was doing a little research for Carla Turner. I had witnesses coming, two young ladies about, they had one come zooming across their property late at night. They had been out partying, and they had come in and they were sitting on their front porch before they went in to go to bed. And this orange one zoomed around. It was about basketball size, and they backed up and came back and then moved in close to where they were and just sat there and glowed for a little bit, and then it zoomed off. And this is what the girls remembered. Carla and I, of course, the girls would not agree to go under any hypnosis. They just wanted to share that event. But Carla and I and Barbara, we all suspected they probably had a little bit of missing time, but since it was late at night and they'd been out partying, they had no recall.
Yeah.
So we didn't interrupt their remembrance at all.
Yeah. Okay. That's it for us, guys. Till the next time, we'll try and do another podcast as soon as we can. All right. Thanks, guys. See you.
Okay. Goodbye.